warm welcome to The Bottom Line, a wrap of the business news of the day. Welcome, I'm Frances Hurd. And we start with this. Allan Gray, who founded the investment management firm named after him, has died. The company says he passed away as a result of a heart attack at the weekend at his home in Bermuda. He was 81 years old. Well, Allan Gray was born in 1938 in East London. He studied at Rhodes University before he received an MBA from Harvard in 1965. He returned to South Africa to start his own investment firm in 1973. And of course, Allan Gray grew to be one of South Africa's most recognizable and successful privately held investment management firms. In 1987, Gray moved to London to launch an international investment firm, Orbis, which later moved to Bermuda. Forbes calculated Gray's net worth at nearly $2 billion in 2017. Well, Allan Gray, the company says he had an immeasurable impact on many lives as an entrepreneur, investor and philanthropist, and he has earned his rest. Now, another investment drive has kicked off in Sandton in Johannesburg. This time the focus is on the whole of Africa. The Africa Investment Forum, hosted by the African Development Bank, seeks to draw investment to Continental projects. 6 heads of state at least were expected to be in attendance, and like South Africa, hoping to draw in funds. Well, last week, President Cyril Ramaphosa announced a 363 billion rand in new pledges. That was from the second South Africa Investment Conference. Speaking at the opening of the forum today at the same venue, Ramaphosa told delegates it was time for Africa to start manufacturing more of its own products.
President Ramaphosa stressed that various African countries will be concluding concrete deals over the next 2 days. He has urged African heads of state to use the forum as an opportunity to lay the groundwork on the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement. The agreement was first introduced in Rwanda last year and has since ratified 54 of the 55 African countries. It aims to promote intra-Africa trade and the free movement of goods and people. Ramaphosa said African consumers and businesses stand to benefit from the removal of trade barriers.
Working with our friends and partners in the global investor community, we have an opportunity, in the words of Kenya's founding father, Jomo Kenyatta, to make ourselves the architects of the future. The AfCFTA will pave the way to the free flow of goods and services, enabling businesses and entrepreneurs to access new markets. Consumers will benefit from the removal of trade barriers and business costs will be reduced. But by far the most and significant potential of the AfCFTA will be in increasing the value of intra-Africa trade, which by some estimates is likely to rise by 15 to 25% by the year 2040.
African Development Bank head Akinwumi Adesina said the forum is proof that Africa is serious about business. He says the move reiterates that Africa is indeed rising and that there's more confidence in its position in the world. This as 37 countries in Africa have experienced growth of 3%, while investment in the continent have increased by 11% last year.
Commodity prices are recovering. Foreign and direct investments in Africa increased in 2018 by 11%, compared to 4% in Asia and a decline of 13% globally. So Africa is doing well on investments, but it still needs to do a lot more.
Adesina says there have been more delegates at this year's annual Africa Investment Forum than last year.
And there is a gala dinner tonight. For more on the African Investment Forum, we're joined by the SABC's Balentle Mtetwa, who attended day one. She's live at the Sandton Conference Centre. Bali, what is South Africa? Tell us more about what is South Africa hoping to achieve here.
Good evening, Francis. Yes, indeed, it is day one of the Africa Investment Forum. Yet another investment forum that seems to be successful, gathering larger numbers than we saw last year. We've heard that the numbers have actually gone up to around 2,000 delegates attending this very event, and some of them coming from over 130 countries. It seems to be one of those really successful conferences and events where we expect more investment commitments to be made by investors and crucial members of parliament and government around, heads of states rather, around Africa are going to be meeting and trying to basically negotiate among themselves, better investment opportunities and how they're going to try and grow the economies in and around Africa. Now, going back to what the president spoke about this morning, he spoke about how investment is crucial for sustained economic growth, and you get the sense that President Cyril Ramaphosa would like to see a growing economy and one that is able to create employment for ordinary South Africans, and where South Africans are able to benefit from that. Now, we know that South Africa had the Presidential Investment Summit just last week, and we know that this one follows hot on the heels of that very same investment summit, so that this is all in an effort to increase the momentum and keep up the momentum of investment commitments. But to speak to me more about how South Africa is going to be benefiting from this forum is none other than Mduduzi Mbada, who is an advisor to the Gauteng Premier. Thank you so much for speaking to us. Please talk to us about the projects that you're going to be trying to get investments for at this forum.
No, thank you very much for the opportunity to have us. We are very much delighted for the hosting of the second edition of the Africa Investment Forum. This is the largest marketplace in the continent where Africans gather not to talk about conflicts in the continent, but to talk about how best we can finance development, how best we can attract both domestic and foreign investment to create much needed job opportunities across the continent, but more importantly, to make sure that our continent becomes globally competitive. South Africa has put up a list of projects that are being considered in the marketplace, but in addition to that, there are about 5 or so projects that are put in what we call the boardroom sessions. The boardroom session project, it means have gone through a process, are now being considered by investors. We are very delighted that come Wednesday, we will unveil the investors that are going to be investing and partnering with us across those projects that come across South Africa in terms of the 5 or 9 provinces.
Okay, so are you able to talk to us and give us the exact details of some of those projects?
Look, it's tricky because one of the things that we would like to do is to make sure that when Wednesday happens, we are able to unveil. But all I can say is that the project cut across waste to energy projects in one of the big metros in our country, specifically in Gauteng. One of the other critical projects is on housing. Housing is important, but also is important in as far as transforming space and creating decent living for people, because for a long time many of our people have been having access to housing, but they've not been closer to housing opportunities. So this is one of the critical projects that we will see the private sector, government coming together to build what the president would consider as the new cities, the post-apartheid cities, smart, new, beautiful cities across our country.
Okay, now I understand that investment commitments don't necessarily yield results immediately, and I know many South Africans who are unemployed are looking for jobs, are obviously hoping that these investment commitments are going to create jobs as in tomorrow, but we understand that this is a lengthy process. Please talk us through that.
It's not as lengthy as many people have been trying to tell us, because one thing we've been able to do is to deal with project preparation and project origination. For a long time, we've not been able to invest in project feasibility. With this partnership with the African Development Bank and the other DFIs, we now can say with certainty, when we reach project bankability, we are likely to start investment, or the project is likely to start in a year's time.
I see. Thank you so much for speaking to us.
It's my pleasure. Thank
There
you.
you have it. That is Mduduzi Mbada speaking to us as to what South Africans can expect to come out of this investment forum. We do understand that, South Africans who are eagerly awaiting jobs would like to see the results in the form of jobs and basically South Africa fighting against poverty and ending poverty and the likes. But for now, it's back to you in studio.
All right, thank you.